Okay. I'm gonna have to let you guys know something. I'm out in the field, and there's a lot of research, traveling, um, enduring harsh weather conditions, money spent, uh, permits, permissions, and stuff that we've got to get through the cities, and getting good with the people, the places that we go to. There's times out in the mountains where there were gold mines, abandoned ones, about maybe several miles out. There's what we thought was a military installment. Drones you could see flying around, of course, they're everywhere. In certain areas, there are camps where there were Indian reservations. These Indian reservations are from way before. I mean, they're mostly transformed into the nearest casino, basically. There you can still find at a lot of stops, sometimes rest stops and stuff along the way up and down the highways and stuff. Gypsy camps, trailers that are all in a group where you kind of figure what that is. That was, I mean, basically that's always been going on for centuries. These are the people that are nomads that pretty much go from place to place. Well, I guess after a while, I got my experience in the mundane life, drone life is what I call it. I decided to travel after things went sour with my situation. Someone told me when things get really bad for you, you go back to nature, and that's what I did. So, well, during that time, my mother she's a gypsy herself, so she's already out there in those areas where there's reservations and there's stretches of land, in between places. And I'm sure wherever you live, you can probably see some mysterious stuff in the sky and probably have to take a double look at, what was that? Well, I don't have any videos where I've told people the things that I've seen. I don't even really tell people that kind of stuff in person too much, because I know, 90% is the government, but what's the other 10%? Because the stories come from the pilots. They come from soldiers on the battlefield. When we have encounters, they happen during war times. They happen at times where we're going to annihilate ourselves. Then we have these divine interventions, these, unspoken phenomena and stuff that, people think is conspiracy theories. And well, I'm here to tell you they're not. I mean, I've been out there, and what I've seen, I mean, I'm still collecting research and I'm still putting things together, because just now I finally see this post on Facebook about these drones that are flying over Colorado. Now, mind you, it's 2019, Christmas Eve. I see these drones, well, one very close. I thought it was a transformer. I mean, it was about 6 feet in diameter, and it was silent, and it had this mechanical transformation that you couldn't even hear, but you could see it switch and change. And this was at night. For a time there, I was out in a riverbed in an area that I would have to explain to you in another video how it was. It was definitely had a lot of energy and a lot of spirits. Well, one thing about it is it has the most churches for one city in America, and that says a lot. It's got so many churches in it. It's where Route 66 goes through. Anyway, I was leaving from a friend's camp out there, and I turned to look back, and I see this machine that just took pictures of us. It seemed like they were flashing. I don't know what it was, but he saw it. I've also, these are mechanical things, and you figure, if we're going to have encounters and stuff like that, where's the, I mean, it's not what you would think when you encounter like the phenomenon. And I'm not even going to go into terms and start talking about all the stereotypical stuff, categorizing and labeling. But if there's things out there that are, put it this way, in that Facebook post, the sheriff department did not know where those came from and what they were. Because he said if they weren't anybody local, or what do they call them, hobbyists, and the sheriffs don't know who it is, then they don't even think it's the government. There's organizations that are working out there that the government don't even know about. People should know that already. I mean, MK Ultra. There's those. I mean, look those up. There's agendas like Agenda 21, depopulation, New World Order, all that kind of stuff. And people are getting shut down for things like that. Like they try to talk about this stuff. I've been shut down. My pages have been shut down. Everything. But I go out in the field and I go do the research myself. And I've got my stories, and I've got some people that have been around with me. Even my own mother. My own mother had gone on a journey. We went through old Indian burial ground right near some. Actually, it was a large reservoir, huge reservoir. Called the Devil's Punch Bowl. And her and I and a friend, we went out there and we found these areas where there was these little, I don't know what to call them. They were just like little areas where there were just like people there that were kind of out of nowhere. They just like kind of lingering around or posted up, or like, I don't even know if they had a camp there or something. Couldn't even really tell, but it was near this lake. And this is in the middle of the night. And my friend, one of the guys I was with, he fell in the water. And when he did that, he got out, and because he was trying to get his flashlight. When he got out, he set a fire so he could warm himself. And then it was getting really cold out there, so I started a fire. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, I kind of screwed that up. The fire kind of got out of hand. I managed to get it under control, but it burnt up like a good area around us, and that wasn't too cool. But at the same time, we're seeing, the drones that are flying around the area. Now, in this area, mind you, I've already seen what looked like a video game. Like it was, what do they call that? Asteroids or Space Invaders, something like that. It was, okay, if these are gold mines, then they're either still active or there's something out there that they're mining for, or they're looking for. And I thought there was a military base over there, but it wasn't. It was just the abandoned mines and these little drones that are flying around, where after I burnt up that area, the next morning, we go back to our actually, we had a huge, it wasn't like a campsite, but we had all our trailers. All the trailers were all around, and we had a whole bunch of people staying. It was like a small village. And there's a lower area where there was a property from where we were, because we were up kind of high. There's like a mountain area. And I'm watching what looks like birds, or maybe just, I didn't even really catch it at first, but I'm standing next to somebody, and then they walked away, and then I turned around and I looked. Coming from that area, from the lower area, it was flying actually level to us. This sphere came up to me, and then it showed itself, because I didn't see it there at first. And it opened up, and you could see like a yellow, or like basically it was lit up like a light bulb type of eye. If you see the Flight of the Navigator and the spaceship that had the robot in, or whatever it was like that, but no extension. It wasn't connected to anything. It was just flying. And there was another one that it was visible, and it was the only one that was visible, but it was off in the distance, and you couldn't really tell what it was. And I couldn't tell until I saw this one. And this one came out of nowhere. It kind of was invisible at first, and then it showed itself, and it was like right in my face, and it looked at me like it was an eyeball, like a flying eyeball. And then it closed back up, and it had optic camouflage, and it disappeared, and I could see its trail. It went back to where the other one was flying across and met up with it, and they kept going. And these things are about, well, somewhere like, that's basically the size. So anyway, if I seen these drones that were active, and they were being used, or they were around, and this is 2015 maybe, and it's 2019. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. So they've had these for a while. Now, if the government doesn't know anything about this kind of stuff, and you've got pilots that there's that flat Earth theory that people talk about. There's got to be some truth to these other wild conspiracy theories if people are bringing them up. So what I do know is being around military people, there's pilots that talk about the things that they've seen during war times or just flights, and for some reason the way that the airplane paths, when you're flying a path, if you've got India up here and you're say in Rome or something, like the flight pattern should go a certain way as the Earth is round. It's supposed to curve, right? But then they're actually going in. It's hard to explain, but you would know if I had a map. Anyway, I think, well, I'm going to just say it flat out. I think that there's civilizations that are living under us that have high technology, and that there are some that are out there in the outer space that know each other, that are connected. They're part of the same thing. This is what I've gathered from even like research online and following on certain tales that people tell, like certain reoccurring type of stories. They might sound far-fetched, but if they keep reoccurring, and there's the same thing they keep saying, then it's got to be some truth to it. Because I don't really put my I don't speak it unless I believe it, unless I'm for sure that I've got to have like second opinions. I've got to do a double take, and certain things that I'll put out there, I will just let you know that I'm saying it because I've checked it twice, 3, 4 times to know if it's for sure. So this is what what I've done, what we're doing, and well, we've kind of lost some people along the way, and well, I still continue the mission, and it's the life I live. And I mean,